Well, that wasn't very fun. I don't know about you. I don't like spending time on things that aren't fun. I avoid that as much as I possibly can. So we're going to spend as little time as possible today talking about that game, if you can call it that. We're going to spend time on things that are actually interesting, like Larry Doby Day. Can the Guardians have a nice series before the end of the break against the Royals? And we're going to get into draft talk because the draft is Sunday. Quite frankly, Jeff, I know you could spend a long time on the draft, and so could I. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Swing for the fences on Sleeper Picks. You could win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app, use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details today. This was a stinker. There's no other way around it. Again, I know yesterday you disagreed with me. I'm still content with taking 1 out of 3 from this absolutely ridiculous Braves team. It is a very good team. It is a well-built team that beat us soundly. But I'll say this, in regards to today's game, it shouldn't have been this bad. Cleveland had 18 base running opportunities. That's typically 6 runs. They got 1. They just couldn't put their stuff together. They couldn't get their bleep together today, as one might say. In the first 5 innings, they had 4. For the first 5 innings, they had 2 runners on and had nothing to show for it. It was just a very Cleveland offense day, which was, an offensive offense. Fans talk about, wanting these games to be out of hand early, so it's not all that heartstrings at the end in the 1-run games. This was one that felt pretty much once it went up 4-0. Justin, you were at the game. How dunzo did it feel at that point?
Yeah, the Braves are not a team that you want to have to come from behind against. That's a team that you need to build like a 9-run lead against so they don't come back on you. And quite frankly, when the Braves came to town, I kind of thought that's how all 3 games were going to be. So I guess you're right in that only 1 game was like that. And the funny part of it is, like you said, the Guardians had chances. The first ball that Quantrill gave up, it was a hit. It was Acuna. It was a 101-mile-an-hour line out to Jose. After that, they were all kind of like bleeders, and Eddie Rosario's double was hit pretty hard, but after that, the rest of the hits that inning were all bleeders, and they dinked and dunked the Guardians to death early on. They took the Guardians formula there, and they waited till the end of the game to do what they do best, and that's hit home runs. Boy, that short left field porch, the home run porch, sure looked good for Sean Murphy, didn't it, Jeff? Looked like he would have enjoyed that. Left. I looked at
it looked like Matt Olson would have liked any part in the stadium as well.
Well, left-handers hit well in this stadium anyway, and except for Eddie Rosario and Brandon Moss, who acted like it was very hard to hit in Cleveland, which I know it is in April, but they were. I remember reading an article years ago saying that hitters, for some reason, they come to Cleveland with the cold weather, they get spooked by playing there because of, I don't know, the way the wind plays in right field when it's cold. But Matt Olson. That home run, that ball, no ballpark was holding that ball, and I looked at Sean Murphy's spray chart, and it looks like he would have a lot of home runs over that porch in left. But it is what it is. Cal wasn't great. He didn't walk anybody. Like that's he didn't walk anybody. But
and I'll say there's definitely some points. There's no errors in this game, but like there is. Again, I was like, who's doing the official scoring? Like Ahmed had one. I thought one of the runs maybe should have been unearned potentially. Not to say that when you give up 4 or 11 hits in 4 1/3 innings, you're doing a good job. So don't confuse me here.
What do you do with Cal next? I guess we don't want to spend a lot of time in this game because it stunk. I'm sure nobody had fun watching it. I know I didn't. What do you do with Cal next?
Everyone has this fantasy baseball mentality of like drop him, and it's like he's been so good for so long.
They don't have the depth to drop him.
Well, I understand the whole idea of like, does he have options? I don't think he doesn't have options, and they're not going to go to a 6-man rotation. He does have options?
He does.
Okay, I wasn't sure because he was kind of an up and down guy early in his career. I mean, it gets to a point where you do wonder, do you send him to AAA and let him? It's 2 bad starts, and I know people say, well, the other ones, I'm like, he was hurt before. He's supposed to be healthy now. If he's got options, I mean, I at least consider letting him pitch a few games down there and break off the rust a little bit more. Here's the thing: give him. Well, no, that's his last start before the break, so But you got to imagine that, like you said, there might be a roster move with some relief. But then again, what do you like Michael Kelly for relief help because you don't care if you
comes back.
Well, if you don't care if you run Kelly's option off, right? Like that's the thing. Like he's the guy who can go up and down 5 times, and you're not going to.
Yeah, you don't care if he gets on waivers. Yeah, so, I mean, Heron's at 4, so the next time would be 5.
Yeah.
But he pitched a lot on Wednesday, so I don't know what you do with that. The team has been adamant they don't want to send Curry down because of how important he has played in saving the pitching staff.
It does feel like I wouldn't be shocked if like Quantrill went down. They can kind of evaluate and figure things out. And if Michael Kelly in particular came up, this would be his 3rd time. Second time. Or has he been up twice? I feel like he's been up twice for very short periods and may not have pitched in either of those.
Here's the thing I look at with Quantrill real quick. I not to make an excuse, because I'm sure some people say this is an excuse, but he was hurt before, and he did openly talk on interviews that he was, altering his pitching motion to try to stay healthy and
people stop healthy, that?
But to manage the pain.
Stop altering.
Yeah.
When you're hurt, you're hurt.
Shane Bieber did it. And a lot of guys do this. I mean, you alter pitchers and hitters do this both. They alter how they swing the bat, how they throw as a pitcher to try to minimize the injury and pitch or play through it. And Cal openly talked about how he did, alter his motion a little bit to try to pitch through it. And I wonder, again, I know people are going to say this is an excuse, but could he have? Is it going to take some time for him to untangle the mess he made with his mechanics? Like, I don't know if that's exactly what's happening, but I do know when guys do mess with their mechanics, hitting or pitching, it's hard to untangle that sometimes. And I don't know. I'm just wondering if that is, plays a role, because it's not like he had bad control or anything. He just got, he didn't even get shelled until later in the outing. Like, he gave a lot of hard hit balls, but like I said, in the first inning with the 4 runs came, it was one hard hit ball that went right to Jose. And after that, it was a lot of bleeders that the Guardians usually have. So I don't know.
Yeah. Let's move on. As you said, today is Larry Doby Day. Let's do something positive and talk about that. For those who don't know, it's the day that he debuted.
Got my hat on if you're watching on YouTube.
He broke the color barrier in the American League. A World War II vet. There's some great stories about him and Mickey Vernon. I would recommend looking those up. They became friends in the military when they were serving the Pacific Theater of World War II. A great player who probably never got the praise he deserved during his time. It took him a while. He was not one of those players who was immediately in the Hall of Fame. I was trying to remember. I was going to pull up exactly 1998.
Yeah.
Veterans Committee. He had to go all the way to the Veterans Committee.
Yeah.
56.8 career WAR, by the way. OPS plus of 140. So think about that. That's pretty good. Yeah, he didn't have like the huge counting stats. Like he had his hits. He had 1,600 hits. He had just shy of 300 home runs, but he was a solid defender in center field. I'd have to count it here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-time All-Star. One of those is in the Negro League, and I don't want to say you don't count it, but just in terms of like Major League Baseball, 7-time All-Star. Got to Cleveland at age 23, played a very little bit, and then had a typical, career through age, retired after his age 35 year, and was part of, the teams that were really good in Cleveland, and was one of the central offensive guys in 48 and 53. And from 49 to 55, I believe he was an all-star every year for his prime. Fantastic player who went through the ringer and had to be exemplary as a human being on top of being exemplary as a player, because if he performed poorly, then everyone was going to use that as an indictment against him. If you wanted a recent comp in terms of similarity scores, one of his highest similarity scores is Brian Giles, who was a great player, But that's his fourth most. Rudy York, who I'm not familiar with, at 1. Tim Salmon at 2. David Justice at 3.
Love me some Tim Salmon.
So it's like I said, his impact. He was a great hitter, historically a huge moment, great defender, and just a great human being. So take a moment for Larry Doby. It is his day. I know New Jersey had made it officially, or maybe just in Montclair, where he died in New Jersey. He was from South Carolina, but New Jersey kind of became his home. But that moment for Larry Doby.
One of these days, baseball will figure it out, and it'll take, it's taken too long, but one of these days he'll get his due across baseball. Also,
should be his day across baseball.
Yeah, he was the second black player in baseball. He was also the second black manager. He thought at one time the Indians were going to hire him as their next manager. Instead, they hired Frank Robinson, who was also the first black manager in Major League Baseball. And Doby didn't have as long of a managerial career or successful as a managerial career as Frank Robinson did. But, he was a scout for the Indians, too, at some point. So Larry Doby, a lot of positive contributions to this team. And hopefully at least one day the Guardians can wear 14 on July 5th every year, because they should be allowed to. If nobody else in baseball is going to do it, Cleveland should be allowed to wear 14 every day. I know in the past guys have requested to, and I would like to see them to do that again.
No. We are going to take our first break here at this point in the show. We will come back. And like I said, we got draft. We have just everything. It's a packed full show.
Royals,
but we'll do that in a second on Locked On Guardians. Sleeper. We talked about them yesterday. We're talking about them today. I always like a new ad partner, and we got a new ad partner. Sleeper picks update daily. You can win up to 100 times in your payout, the highest payouts that are out there. You can place in-game contests, more stat categories to place contests on: home runs, triples, stolen bases. Dynamic payouts are live. Dynamic payouts are each player projection now has a multiplier attached to it, as opposed to a preset multiplier. So it can change. With dynamic payouts also come more stat categories to place contests on, get higher payouts than other apps with less picks. Built-in group chat functionality where you can see and copy your group's picks with the tap of the button, and entries can be made in 30 seconds or less. Safe and fast withdrawals, and they're just expanding into baseball now, so you have to be at the cutting edge of Sleeper's expansion. Swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you could win 100 times your money. Use the promo code Locked On, and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Guardians and Royals start their matchup on Thursday at 7:10. Tanner Bybee, Jordan Lyles. Search on SiriusXM Guardians to listen to all the radio action.
Advantage Royals? No.
Yeah. Jordan Lyles, 1-11-668. I feel like he's due for a big day against.
Of course, now that we've said that, he's gonna pitch a perfect game tomorrow. We set Jordan Lyles on the perfect game track after our smarminess. Cleveland now 2 games back because the Twins just had this same Royals team. When Cleveland moved into first place all by their lonesome, so when the Twins ran into the buzzsaw that is Atlanta, Cleveland ran into the buzzsaw that is Atlanta. Now I believe the Twins have the Orioles, so it's a chance to still end this first. I mean, we're already past the first half, even though we called the All-Star break the first half.
He's not doing that.
Yeah, it's not truly the first half. But yeah, no, they'll like I said, I believe it is the Orioles, and then so root for Baltimore. And Cleveland has a chance to still. Again, you got 4 games with the Royals. You should win all 4. The Royals are really bad. That's my Royals preview.
Yeah, Bybee, Lyles, Savali, Lynch, Williams, Singer, Bybee, or I shouldn't say Bybee. Yeah, they're pitching Bybee twice. No, Bieber and Greinke. So advantage every game, but you know how this goes. So who knows? 4-game sweep going into the break would feel good for everybody. I think the Guardians definitely are going to need 7 from Tanner on Thursday. That would be very ideal for the bullpen that got taxed on Sunday. It got taxed on Tuesday. and it got taxed again sort of on Wednesday. So we'll see if they make a move. Yeah, not much more to get into the Royals. We just saw them. The Guardians should have swept them, and they should sweep them again. But it'll probably be, look, I don't know. I guess, Jeff, are you happy with 3 of 4 since you were happy with 1 of 3 from the Braves?
No. The Braves are really good. The anti-Braves are the Kansas City Royals. And if you're going to take care of business, and the only way you can make taking 1 out of 3 from the Braves good is you got to take 4, because you already gave the Royals 1 game. You were allowed to give them 1. You gave it to them in the last series. This one has to be all 4.
Agreed. That's no fun. Hey, let's do a little bit of Around the Farm. Well, we haven't done Around the Farm in a while. We can do that. I don't really know what to talk about in Columbus. They hit a lot of they scored a lot of points tonight. Something the Guardians aren't familiar with. They scored a lot of points.
What are points?
Yeah, nobody knows. Okay, look, I don't want to use the airtime to bash Daniel Schneemann. That's not what I want to do. But we did have some people asking if he is a prospect, and you and I have talked about him off air a little bit. He is having a nice season. It's very heavy home road split. If you don't know, Huntington Park, where the Clippers play, very, very hitter-friendly park across the board. So, always look at the home road splits when you're looking at AAA players. Don't scout the stat line. Daniel is a 26-year-old infielder, and hey, he plays second, he plays third, he can play some short. He's played some left in the past. He will make a nice org utility infielder for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Monasterio, Samad Taylor, Mike Freeman. I mean, we have seen this type of guy come to Cleveland and never get an opportunity and then go somewhere else. He runs well. He plays multiple positions. By all accounts, seems to be a really good dude who's worked hard. I hope he gets a shot in the big leagues next year. He should definitely leave this organization because of the log jam that there is. And I think he's got, a chance to be, the 26th man. He does those things well you want from your bench guy, and I think he's
an up and down type utility guy. Like if you have a need for an infielder in the future, and you just need a guy for a couple of days, that's good. He might be able to do that. It won't happen in Cleveland, but we wish the best for him. And no knock on him. He's been an interesting player, but as far as a serious prospect in terms of future playing time, yeah, he's at best a utility guy. Hey, Carson Tucker has played 3 games this week.
Career high.
Yeah, career high, 3 games in 1 week. He played July 1st, 3rd, and 5th, and he got a hit tonight and walked twice, so that's good. Carson Tucker sighting, always kind of like Bigfoot sometimes. And Juan Brito continues to smash the ball in Double-A. Get excited about Juan Brito. Here's a real question for you, actually. I was kind of half joking, but he had a grand slam the other night. He had 2 more hits tonight. With Angel Martinez's struggles this year, nobody can seem to figure out what's happening there other than just kind of a little more chase. Brian Rocchio has not hit for a lot of power this year. Can't figure that one out considering we just talked about how hitter-friendly Huntington Park can be, and he should dominate AAA at this point. I wonder if Rocchio's a little bored. Remember that stint Lindor did in AAA at the end?
Yeah, and that happens where guys feel like there's nothing to prove.
I don't want to say bored. Yeah, it's just
it's hard to get motivated. Jose had that issue when he went back down after his first run in Cleveland.
Yeah, it is. And Lindor went through it too. So my real question here is, has Juan Brito already passed? We were both very high in Angel Martinez. You didn't think he could play short. I have more doubts that he's going to play short. My initial ranking of Martinez was that I think he can play short, so that makes him more valuable. I'm kind of walking that back a little bit, or I'm not walking it back. I'm changing my opinion because I've seen more, and I kind of wonder if he can play short. So has Juan Brito, considering the fact that nobody knows where his future position is going to be, he doesn't run well. There's not a lot of glove there, but with the bat, has he already passed Martinez in your rankings if you do an update?
I mean, right now, yeah. I mean, it's been a rough year for Martinez. I'm not also good. Like, I don't do midseason rankings.
See, I will do mine after the draft. That's when I do mine.
I would tell you where draft guys slot in, but I don't change my rankings because we've seen too many guys have crap first halves and balance out, and too many guys have the Wes Hodges effect, as I will always call it, where they have that really hot first half, and you think you got something, and then it's not the case. I agree
with you. It's hard to re-rank based on half a year. I think your approach is right. It's to kind of see where the draft guys slot in versus re-racking the deck, so to speak, or reshuffling the deck. But I would agree. I think Brito has probably passed Martinez, and he is inching up I don't know if I could say he's inching up close to Rocchio yet, because I feel safe about Rocchio as a hitter. I don't know if we're talking like all-star level hitter. I think we're talking about like a league average hitter right now who can steal 15 to 20 bases with above average defense at short, which is what you're not getting right now. Brito is not going to give you above average defense probably anywhere at this point unless something changes. He's not going to give you steals, but the bat might play. And I think he inches up right behind Rocchio in terms of, like, Bivey's going to graduate. Williams might graduate. Allen probably will. Will Brennan's graduating. Bo Naylor's going to graduate. Tim Herron's graduating. Like right now, your top prospect might have to be, like you said, Espino, because, you know, that's still there. There is Rocchio, and then is it DeLauder? Is it Valera? Is it Brito? Like Brito is.
It can't be Valera. I mean, the guy can't stay healthy. That's the only reason he's still an option.
Yeah,
and when he's been healthy, it's been bad. I mean, he's moving down for me, not up. Again, like right now, it's just a general gut feel. I don't re-rank because I need a full year's worth of data. Half a year for me isn't enough. But right now, there's not a lot of guys who you're feeling good about in system, like in terms of positive growth. That's just, I know someone argued with that statement last week, but I don't know what you're watching. Like if you were watching the games, it's not looking good. If you're looking at the stat line, it's not looking good. None of it is coming together well right now. And there aren't a lot of guys like this time a year ago. We were like, man, you know, look at Leftwich, look at all these pitchers, you know, Cantillo, we're hoping he'd come back. Not that Cantillo's been bad, but he's been okay. Like, you know, the command issues are becoming. Yeah, there's just a lot of things where, you know, last year's draft is outside of DeLauder finally being healthy and actually, like, I think he'll be safely a top 10 guy. He wasn't for me coming into the year, but he's looking like it. But you would expect the guy drafted that high to do that. Yeah. But yeah, with their graduations, I mean, the draft has so far yielded nothing. I mean, Joe Lampe, I think a lot of people got excited about, and I didn't love that profile. And you kind of hope for where he's taken that he would be in the top 10 discussion. That's not going to happen. Nate Furman is a small school guy, and he obliterated low A, and low A is terrible. And then high A has been hard for him to overcome. I'd like to see some of those arms get pushed up. I'd love to see, you know, Parker Messick. I know he did get moved up. You know, he did get the first bump. But Austin Peterson
struck out 9 tonight.
Peterson's been solid, but I mean, he's like 23. There's like, he's so old for the level. Right. Parker Messick, like, he's a guy that should be in double A at some point this year based on like his track record. Not, we're talking about moving up to high A. Probably should, like, it's weird because 2 years ago, the Bibees and everyone else that we talked about, they started him in high A, but now they don't have the players to put in otherwise. You talked about the backfill. So yeah, it was exactly a year ago. I don't know if it was this date or it was around July 4th weekend, because I know I was out at dinner with my aunt and uncle when they were in town, and Bybee got the promotion to Akron. So he literally was promoted to Akron like this time last year, and he is already one of the Guardians' best pitchers of the majors. It's wild. But you're right. DeLauder had a double tonight. He had 3 hits. I saw him in a game last week live, and I watched a couple videos, and I chalked it up to just, you know, not having a lot of reps and rustiness a little bit, and it didn't look super impressive. But I don't, you know, not going to take it away based on, you know, 6 at bats. But he seems to be settling nicely, which is something worth getting excited about, because if he starts crushing low A or high A, you know, that's a great sign, because he should be crushing high A, and the next test is double A for him. So, all right, we talked a lot about the minor league update. That's about as much as we can give you right now. Let's dive into the draft, because we are a couple of days away from the draft on the other side of this. Search Guardians on your XM app on Thursday at 7:10 to listen to the hometown broadcast of Guardians and Royals. It is easy. Just search Guardians on your XM app. All right, Jeff, lead us off. Where are we going? I could spend another hour talking about the draft. I'm super excited about the draft this year. Not for the Guardians, but just in general. Well, here's the thing. Let's just lay it out. Here's the thing has become my new overused phrase. But with an being the other one. I'm just going to go and cut all of that out of the audio version. But
you haven't used your sounder yet today. Thanks.
Yes, I do have a nice little sound effect. So when I can be like, "Hey, Justin, what do you think?"
Yeah.
There we go. I just got that saved. So, you know, I was going through some stuff. I did a crossover with Lindsay, and we were talking about some players. And the one thing you have to start off at the beginning of, like, why are there so many college hitters? Because this is the 2020 kids where the draft was 5 rounds. So this year is crazy deep. It is why I've been screaming for a year to trade for draft picks. Maybe other teams didn't want to trade for draft picks. No one gave up draft picks as we approach the draft. I know Greg Zumach is a really nice guy over with the Cubs Insiders. Sorry if I got it wrong, Greg.
Ivy League Futures.
Sorry.
North side bound.
We both got it wrong. But like, he's been saying, the Cubs, should be buying picks. And we've all had these grand dreams. And then I don't think a single pick is traded hands. And one of the reasons is, like, traditionally picks present a certain value. They're so much higher this year because this class is so flipping deep. And, I'm going to be curious to see who the slider is, who goes higher than what. I was telling Justin for the show, like, I was working on my big board, and like, I don't have the same top 5 as everyone else. I'm just going to say that now. It's a fun class. Cleveland can go in a dozen different ways. In the mock I did with Lindsay that you'll be able to check out on the Locked On Prospects, I think Thursday, Friday, Enrique Bradfield nearly got to Cleveland, which I don't know how they would approach or view that, but someone's going to slide. There's some really interesting talent, and it's overall it should be a fun night. We are going to be wall to wall. One of the names I did want to talk about that's been popping today, and then I got annoyed when I texted this to Justin because he goes, "Oh, Kylie McDaniel had a piece on him today." I'm like, no. Because I was planning to talk about Connor Burns, who seems like the perfect between, a Connor like this. They already have a few Connors and things like that. They love that very common name. And then Burns, just to make it confusing. He is a player who last year, a lot of people loved at the Cape. Now he hit 204 at the Cape, but why do people love him at the Cape? Because he has some people said 70 grade arm and future 70 grade defense. And then also, like, I think the MLB.com one talked about 70 grade work ethic. He is the guy I was talking about when you want to draft a catcher that is defensive ceiling and you hope you can get more, like they did with Roberto Perez, or like they did and it didn't work out with Mike Rivera. Justin and I were also, again, texting. And one of the interesting things is up through 2018, they drafted 2 catchers in the top 15 picks every year. The Michael Tinsley and Gavin Collins was like the last combination of that, but we had some fun talking about guys like, and they didn't go a lot of prep. Prep was like Alex Levisky, Simeon Lucas, and Bo Naylor. That's quite the triumvirate. But the college guys, last year they took Logan Clark in the 16th round. That was the first catcher they've taken. And Logan Clark seems like he's putting the work. I'm curious to see him in like 2 years hit affiliate ball because he's going to be a guy that's a slow mover likely. He's
already 20. That's everything.
Yeah,
too. He's already 20.
He was old for the class, but they took a chance. And again, it looked like he put in the work. But the reason I like Connor Burns is if he can be, he hit 14 home runs this year. There is some power. There is some charge in that bat. He works hard. You don't see this a lot. As a junior, he was the defensive player of the year in his conference. He was up for the Rawlings Gold Glove as a junior, or as a sophomore, I should say. He was a 2-time defensive player of the year in his conference. Generated a lot of talk on the Cape just purely on his defense. Listen, offensively, it may come together, it may not. If you want a current example for someone like this, Jake Rogers over in Detroit, it was a guy who I didn't want to touch at Tulane because I'm like, the dude can't hit at Tulane. Him and Steven Almiss were the two guys where it's like, they're Tulane and they're not performing. Yeah, I don't care about their defense. But if you trust your coaching, maybe you can send him to the Brewers for like 3 years and then get him back. I don't know how you work that trade. The Brewers, you trade them a prospect, so they'll develop your catcher. But he's got the defensive chops to be at least a backup already. And if he can just fall into a little more offense, he'll be fine. So I think, he's probably in that third to fourth round range. It would mean maybe no Jack Payton. So I think Justin probably wouldn't be for it. But he was one of the guys I kind of circled to talk about today. I also heard that, I think, Colt Emerson's been a common mock to Cleveland. I can't get too much into it, but I've heard some people chattering that he's kind of strongly committed to Auburn and that he might just want to go there. So
nothing against, if you're watching, I just
Colt Emerson. Yeah, no, I mean, he's a great prospect. Ohio's having one of AJ McEwing, Colt Emerson, Joe Whitman. It's a fun year in the state of Ohio. We haven't had a lot of groups this talented, but it's just they have Colt Emerson on the, if everything goes right, is probably Brian Rocchia, which is a fantastic prospect, but they have
the
Brian
Guardians already
Rocchia.
have all this. Yes,
You know, it's
the thing. They don't need a Colt Emerson.
They need to diversify their investments,
Yeah,
and
diversify your portfolio, as they say in finance, which I know so much about now.
But yeah, they need it. Our only concern with Colt Emerson is more that, like, hey, it's what they already have in spades. So yeah, I think there's, any rumors you're hearing right now, like your buddy's like, hey, this is my favorite time of year where I get texts from someone like, I got a buddy in the front office. Apparently the front office has 60 million people in it because everyone's got a buddy in the front office who's just the biggest loose lip sinking ships out there. Yeah, don't trust anything. Right now, 99% of the smoke is from agents. I don't really get into the agent game like I used to. I used to have a few I chat with. And they would give me stuff, and by give me stuff, it was 1 in 3 things was true, and the other 2 were just lies because they're trying to do anything they can to make it seem like a guy could potentially be off the board. So they can go back and be like, "Hey, did you see what's out there? We would like 100,000 more, or 10,000 more, or 1,000 more, or we're not going to take that because we can get more." So it's all about trying to have that leverage, and it is high smoke season. I'm working through the big board. I will have a top 50 posted. Do I have capsules for all 50? I don't know, if I'm being honest, but I will definitely have that out through. You can follow that on my Twitter. I'm just doing it on my own personal site again. Prospects Live. No, Prospects Live has been great, but they're kind of doing their own thing, and I'm so used to being an independent body that I wrote some capsules for them, but I'm keeping all my boards and mocks to myself because I can't share.
Yeah.
Much like my 2-year-old who's just going around mine. That's where I am. That's
what the Guardians are doing with all these contact-friendly shortstops.
Yes.
Are you a contact-first shortstop? Mine. They're taking mine. That's what they're doing.
Yes.
They're hoarding them. I wanted to have another conversation later in the week about what is it? What's the phrase? Paralysis by analysis.
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, I kind of want to have a talk about that later in the week because the Guardians, like we saw Ben Heller pitch for the Braves on Wednesday night, and he was part of the Andrew Miller trade, and it just got me to thinking. It's like, the trade for the failed trade for Jonathan Lucroy, the Andrew Miller thing, all the prospects in that, none of them really had great careers. Like, who's been the best out of all those 2 trades?
JP Fireeisen.
Yeah, Greg Allen has been. Yeah, Greg Allen's had some moments, and Yu Chang's had some moments. I'll give him that.
Mejia has been a backup.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that the Rays need to move on from Mejia because he just never developed. Because shocker, he didn't put the work in, and at the time, all he had was a guy who made a lot of contact and had a strong arm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's that but that is such the Guardians' profile, right? Like, he didn't walk, he didn't strike out, he didn't have any power, but people thought he was gonna. I remember someone telling me you can't trade.
So they've been doing this for a while.
He's gonna win a batting title. I'm like, no, he's not. He is not gonna win a batting title. But
nope. But it's a good conversation of like trade the prospects. You know what I mean? Make the move because we just saw Matt Olson and look, I think the Braves didn't get a whole lot, or the A's didn't get a whole lot for Matt Olson, but the Guardians thought they had a deal for Matt Olson, or so we've heard a couple times from other places.
And they thought they had a deal for Murphy. That's why there was no trade at last year's trade deadline. They put all their effort on Murphy, thought they had a trade in place, and
nope. So trade the prospects. They maybe they just got beat out on those 2. We talked about the Ruiz thing multiple times on here, so I don't know, but the whole thing is, trade the prospects, and you're going to restock your system. And if you believe in your guys, you can draft and develop. Like I said this before, the Guardians don't need to take a first-round college pitcher. Like, I feel like maybe Joe Whitman is an option if they don't like any of the college, if they don't like any of the bats there.
If Waldrep falls, which I doubt, but
Waldrep or Whitman could be at 23. I don't think he gets there, but if they're like, if Emerson's strongly committed to Auburn, or they don't, maybe hopefully they're not interested because of the diversification, and Brock Wilken isn't there, Whitman would be a solid option. I don't know. We can talk more about the draft tomorrow. There's other guys I'd love to talk about, and I'd love to just the Guardians don't need to take a pitcher in the first round because they certainly should not be allowed to take a prep pitcher in the first round. That should be off the board for them. It probably won't be, but it should be off the board for them.
And I'm kind of to that point. It's almost like taking a running back in the NFL draft.
I think I said it before. Bieber, I know Plesac's not really good anymore, but Bieber, Plesac, Savali, Bybee, Logan Allen, none of those guys are first-round picks. Just Gavin Williams was. That's the only guy. Tanner Burns is even up at the club, and he was a first-round pick. But they don't need a first-round pick on a college pitcher to develop them. So don't waste your time and money with that. Focus on the things you can't get later in the rounds. You can't get more out of. So more to talk about later in the week. Those conversations, I think, could be had tomorrow.
Yep. We want to thank you all for listening, rating, and reviewing, downloading, doing your part. It helps. Make sure to tune in for more draft content. If there's anyone you'd like me to talk about, please let me know. And go Guardians, go.
Sweep the Royals. Sweep them.